The copywriter might be able to capture some of your voice, but a lot of the times you're going to like a copywriter because you like their style, but they're probably not going to be capturing your voice quite right. And so you need to be willing to step in and say, okay, that's great, but I need to add me to this. Welcome to the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast, where being a badass has less to do with what you wear and what music you listen to, and everything to do with whether you've got the thriving online business of your dreams. I'm your renegade thinking Harvard Law grad turned online entrepreneur host, Bobby Klinck. In my years building my thriving business, the most important lesson I've learned is that being a badass online marketer isn't about secret strategies or ninja tactics. It's about doing the basic stuff right and showing the F up. So each week here on the show, you'll get clear, easy to execute guidance on how to build your online business and a swift kick in the ass or two to make sure you're getting it done. Hey there, welcome to episode 144 of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Bobby Klinck. And today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects. And I'm going to give you that swift kick in the rear that you might need every once in a while. Specifically, we're going to be talking about why you need to find your voice, your personal voice, and why that's more important than anything else that you could be doing when it comes to writing copy, etc. And so I'm going to be talking about that because I think it's an important thing that a lot of people don't quite get right. So that's what we're talking about in today's episode. But before we dive in, if you are struggling with your email marketing, if you write emails and you're not getting the traction you want, and you're not getting the kind of sales and reactions you want from email, it's probably because you're doing it wrong. And I don't say that to be mean. I do it because most people are doing it wrong. Most people aren't using email the right way. And that's why I created a new quiz that's called What's Your Number One Email Marketing Fatal Flaw? The whole purpose of it is to help you figure out what it is that you're not quite doing right when it comes to email, how to fix it, and the one shift that every single entrepreneur needs to make when they're thinking about email marketing. I'd love for you to take it. You can find it by heading over to bobbyklinck.com/fatal flaw. Again, bobbyklinck.com/fatal flaw. And now with that, we can dive in. And one of the mistakes that people make with email, and that's why it fits with this episode, is they don't use the right voice for their email. But it's not just an email issue. What I'm going to give you a call to action on here is that you need to find your voice for everything you do in your business. You've heard me talk about the more cowbell idea of really needing to embrace, your particular type of you and adding you to your brand. Well, your voice is the most important thing, and it comes across in many, many places. It comes across in emails. It comes across in your content. It will come across in your website copy. It'll come across in your social media copy, etc. Well, at least if you're doing it right, it will. Because that's where what you should be doing. You should be putting your personal voice into all of those things. This is why I don't like templates. And by templates, I mean, I don't like, social media caption templates. I don't like email templates where people says, oh, all you got to do is fill in the blank, because that's not you. And what this comes down to is that if you are just using other people's voice, not adding your personal voice to all of the things you write, to all of the things you create, your personal slant, your personal perspective on things, then people aren't going to connect with you. And I will tell you that one of the things that I've noticed is that this podcast, I have started to get more and more traction as I have started to add more and more of my personal voice to this podcast. And what I'm talking about when I talk about this podcast and my voice is the shift that I started making when I went to the twice a week episodes, where I started to add my sorry, not sorry. I'm just going to tell you like it is. And for a long time, I didn't do that, right? For a long time, the podcast episodes, I was very much kind of just a teacher. I was, explaining things and teaching and doing that. But I was, being, I guess, a bit nicer, right? And I wasn't willing to just be the real me. And I'm the person who, if you ask me a question, if you say, well, do I really need to create a new piece of content every week? I'm going to say, yeah, if you want a business, you do. I mean, if you don't want a successful business, no, you don't have to. But if you want a successful business in the long run, yeah, you got to. And I would say the same thing if you asked me if you needed to email your list every week and things like that. But for a long time, I was soft pedaling that because I felt like, oh, well, maybe I shouldn't go that extreme and that hard. Well, when I started actually doing it, people started reacting because everything we do is about attracting the right people and repelling the wrong people. And the best way to do that is with your voice in your content, but again, your voice in your emails as well. This is one of the mistakes that people make with email is they sound stiff, boring, and corporate. And again, I'm not saying that you have to be wacky like I am. But what I'm saying is that if it sounds like it was written by, or could have been written by like artificial intelligence, it's probably not going to connect with people. If it sounds like you're taking a template that says, okay, put 3 bullet points of what they'll learn and that, it's not going to feel like they're really going to kind of like connect with you. Because it feels like it's not you. Similarly, I want to say and talk about copywriting issues. And it's kind of funny because in my group coaching program, one of the members was talking about, said, well, you're going to be mad at me, Bobby, because I hired a copywriter to help me with my website. I don't have a problem with you hiring a copywriter. But what I want you to understand is that a copywriter might be able to capture some of your voice, but a lot of the times you're going to like a copywriter because you like their style, but they're probably not going to be capturing your voice quite right. And so you need to be willing to step in and say, okay, that's great, but I need to add me to this. I need to add more Bobby, or I need to add more of whatever your name is. And again, you've heard me talk about this. I don't have an ICA where I can say, that, my ICA is Julie. So, I add more Julie. I don't do that kind of stuff, but you get my point. You need to be you. And the reason why is that at the end of the day, there aren't that many things that differentiate us, depending on what you sell and what you offer. But most of us are in markets that are relatively mature. And that means there are other people offering effectively the same things that we're offering. Now, maybe they have a slightly different take. Maybe you have a framework that's slightly different, or you have a structure or a way of thinking about it, or a success path, or something that is different. But at the end of the day, the most important thing and the most important differentiator is that you are you. That you're the only one who can explain things the way you explain them. And what I will tell you is that this is important because I've had people who have come to me and said that, I will teach a lesson that they've heard other thought leaders teach, that they've maybe heard people like Marie Forleo and Amy Porterfield teach. But when I said it, the way I said it in my particular approach, my particular way of putting it, it finally hit home. And that's because I use my voice. I've added my voice. I've allowed my personality and my kind of, who I am to come into the way I teach, the way I talk. And so you need to do the same thing. And that means that although last week I told you need to have swipe files, and you do. But swipe files aren't about you copying what other people say. They're about you getting ideas for structure and how you do things and those kinds of things. But you need to have your particular words, your particular voice. If there are things that you say in real life, they should be in your copy. They should be in the way you sign off from a podcast if you do a podcast. They should be part of what you do. That's part of the reason why we changed this to the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast, because badass is the kind of word I would say. And in fact, is a word that I say. And so like if I wanted to say that something was awesome, I would probably say that's badass. I mean, that's what I would say in real life. And so why wouldn't we add that to my brand, to what we say? And when you do that, you will truly start connecting with people at a deeper level. And again, this isn't about me telling you that you need to use particular words. And it's not about me saying that you need to use contractions and you need to use colloquialisms. But if that's how you talk, you should. I mean, if you use colloquialisms, why wouldn't you? Like, I might say, I don't have a dog in that fight, which is kind of sometimes a Southern phrase. But there are things that I would say that, of course, I'm going to use them, and you should too. But really what this is about is me encouraging you to go out and figure out what is your tone that you kind of naturally use and want to use. And what is it? Are you cheeky? If so, be cheeky. Are you wacky? If so, be wacky. Are you dry? If so, be dry. But whatever it is, find your voice, not someone else's voice. Don't listen to me and say, well, I want to be like Bobby, so I'm going to tell wacky stories. Bobby says we should tell wacky stories, so I'm going to do it. No. I want to be very clear. I tell wacky stories because that is me. Maybe you tell inspirational stories. Maybe you have a much calmer disposition and a much calmer approach to life. And if so, that's fine. You should find that voice that is within you and make sure that you show it to the world. Because what I want you to understand is that you are the only person in the world who has your experiences and can come at anything from your perspective. And if you don't share that unique voice with the world, you are depriving the world of something that only you can offer. So if you'd rather try to compete on price and be a race to the bottom or do something else, fine. But I prefer to just be me, to use my voice, to let you hear me, the real me, get to know me, and decide whether you like me. And I do that in my copy, I do that in my content, and I do that everywhere I can. And so I'm encouraging you to do the same thing. So my swift kick in the rear today is that you need to find your voice, your unique voice that is only you, and start using it everywhere across your brand. And if you do that, that decision alone will help you move forward, more than hiring a copywriter to write one thing for you, because you will suddenly have a very unified voice that people will start to see and say, oh, that's that person, because they'll know and they'll recognize it. So find your voice and go out and build your badass business. Talk to you later. That's it for this episode of the Certified Badass Online Marketing Podcast. Make sure to tune in next time. And in the meantime, go out and build the badass business of your dreams.